taking it forward, our today's speaker are a couple who are from Pune and who have dedicated their life in upbringing high intellect, sharp children through homeschooling. His Grace Krishna Kishore Prabhuji and Her Grace Ras Sundri Mataji. I welcome them. They both are spiritual counselors in Pune Temple, ISKCON Pune, and they both are serving as preachers for over 25 years now. So talking about Krishna Kishore Prabhuji or Mr. Karthik Subramaniam, he is a professor of computer science in VIT, that is Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, Pune, and also the Dean of Corporate Relations and Placements. Be it material or spiritual life, Prabhuji is just a trendsetter and pioneer in anything that he does. If I were to describe him in just one word, that would be ultra disciplined. Because, we have seen people who manage hours or minutes, but he is a person who manages even the seconds. And talking about Mataji, she's a very sweet housewife, simple lady with tremendous competence and 24/7 involvement and commitment in her spiritual and family life. So there has been an amazing teamwork between Prabhuji and Mataji to carry out all the academics of their children who are being homeschooled. So one of their child has just passed 10th class from IGCSE board and the other one is in class 8th. So it is seriously commendable to see how the school schedule is followed over the years so that children can be meaningfully engaged. So let us seek motivation from them on how we can homeschool our child during this lockdown period. I once again welcome Krishna Kishore Prabhuji and Ras Sundri Mataji. Over to both of you. Just one, before we start, I request everyone to please be on mute. And if you have any questions, you can leave in the chat section. We are also live on our Facebook page, Ankuram. And you can ask the questions there. I will be gathering from there and I'll ask Prabhuji and Mataji. So please join me together in welcoming Prabhuji and Mataji. Over to both of you. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. We'll just start with prayers. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamahyam Dadati Sapadantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarane Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhupya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. So the plan for today is that both me and Ras Sundri, we will speak maybe for about 20-25 minutes. And then we will take questions because we believe that the nature of the topic is such that there will be a lot of questions, hopefully, because the concept is very simple. Homeschooling, as in you're going to keep the children at home and we are schooling them. But perhaps devotees would have a lot of questions about it. So we just have about 4 or 5 slides, not too much. So I will speak initially and then she will take over. And then finally we will open to questions. So that is how we are planning the session for today. Okay, so I've titled today's talk as Homeschooling Children, Opportunities and Challenges. Okay, so we start with the first point. What are the principles of education? So when we talk about education, what is actually education? So first of all, I would like to express gratitude to one Aruda Mataji, from whom we had learned a lot about homeschooling 10 years back when we started this effort in 2011. So the first principle is something that we learned from her, that there are 5 R's in education, she would say, which is most important: reading, writing, raga, rote, and arithmetic. So if you see here, there are 5 R's. So reading and writing is with respect to languages, and the more the languages that the child can learn, the better it will be for him or her later in life. Right? So not just English or Hindi, but our mother tongue, maybe regional language, like we live in Maharashtra here, so Marathi, Sanskrit. So in this way, several languages should be taught to a child. And language being taught means the child should have the ability to read as well as to write and speak as well. So this forms a major component of education, especially primary education till 7th standard. If you see, it's mainly reading, writing languages as well as mathematics. So that's why we have said arithmetic. So arithmetic means mathematics, which starts early on. And because if the mathematics foundation is good, again later in higher classes, whether it is science subjects like physics or computer science or any other subject, becomes very easy for the child to pick up. So reading, writing, arithmetic, these are essentially the academic subjects. And then raga, music, which is again very important for every child, because music gives, it soothes the mind. And our children later, when they grow up in life, there will always be so many situations of stress for them. And music is a very big stress buster. And also, since we are Hare Krishna, so related to our kirtan, bhajan, etc., to be able to sing and to play instruments is a very important part of education, which the child should learn from childhood. And also rote as in the ability to by heart and remember things. Though it's not very fashionable nowadays, in today's education system, too much of emphasis on rote memory is not there, but still it is generally said to be good for the brain, to be able to memorize and reproduce things. And not memorize just unnecessary information, but perhaps in math as well as in Sanskrit, in various subjects, there would be important concepts that they should by heart, which would actually test and strengthen the memory of a child. So these are the 5 R's of education which we had learned: reading, writing, and arithmetic. And this should be always there. The second principle of education is always customized. And in a very ideal setting, the teacher should a student, since education is to be custom on the SWOT, the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threat of a child. So in our own little experience, we have seen that even with 2 boys at home, both the boys had slightly different interests or abilities in terms of their academic and extracurricular subjects. So the same template that we follow for one is never so easily reproducible for another. There would be some slight changes that one may have to make. So investing personal time in a student is again a very important principle of education. It's a principle, whether it is homeschooling or no. And the third thing is, our Gurukul education system in Bharat was perhaps one of the best systems of education, because it really took care of the holistic development of a child. Unfortunately, it doesn't exist today by and large. And that is why every parent has to struggle to figure out the best kind of education for a child. Even if somebody spends lakhs of rupees, sometimes the education that one gets is not satisfactory in modern times, which is why we are all asking this question about homeschooling, etc. So these are principles of education. Now I'll just speak about opportunities, and I'll hand over to Rasundari to speak on challenges. So what are the opportunities in terms of homeschooling children? So by homeschooling, what are the advantages? So homeschooling means very simple. That means the children are at home, they don't go to a school, and all the education is taken care at home. So that's what actually it literally means. So what are the opportunities? So the first thing is that the child's life is quite simplified, because going to school, generally I've seen around that most children who go to regular schools, they go to school, they go to tuition, from very early age in India, especially. There's a lot of fashion of trend of going to tuitions, and the same subjects they learn in school, they again learn in tuition. It's not very clear why the same thing has to be learned 2 times, right? And then there is a lot of homeworks, there is classwork, there is homework. So sometimes a child's life, we see, becomes very complicated, because so much of time has to be invested in learning the same thing over and over again. Whereas sometimes it was so the child's life is simplified in a homeschooling setup because the school work and homework happen simultaneously. So that means in homeschooling there is nothing like later homework for the child. So when we are teaching at that time itself, there is a kind of homework that the child does. So it happens simultaneously, and there is no separate tuition going and all that stuff. So the life of the child is quite simplified, and time. And because they are saving a lot of time, this personalized education helps the child to discover his or her talents. And also there is some extra time for extracurricular activities, which includes spiritual life. So even for spiritual life, a child needs time to understand something about our philosophy, stories from Bhagavatam, or, to do deity worship, etc. And also to pursue other hobbies, which may be music, maybe sports for some other child, whatever. So the child gets time to pursue extracurricular activity. So that's a very big opportunity for a homeschool kid. And on some occasions, it also saves the child from a lot of bad association, especially if there is no devotee school or a dharmic school set up. Because we see that so many children, so many in regular schools, especially in higher classes, sometimes, from 7th standard, 8th standard, whatever, we see that the peer association actually causes a lot of damage sometimes for a child, and they unnecessarily learn so many things before their biological age sets in, which is actually not good for them. So this kind of bad association is something that a child is saved from by staying at home. And also it gives a lot of opportunity for parents to be close to their children and understand each other, spend a lot of time. So this is something very brief from me. I'll just hand over to her, Sundari. She will speak on challenges.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So before venturing into a new project, it's always good to know the challenges that we could face in that project. So I would like to speak on that mainly. What happens in homeschooling is that the major load is on the mother. Since father goes to work in the day, almost 8-9 hours in the day, our husband goes out for work, and we are at home with the child homeschooling. So the mother has to be prepared for that. It's commitment, needs a lot of sacrifice and a sense of responsibility to do it, because at home things are not stable. Every day is not alike. Sometimes there may be guests that may come uninformed, atithis. Our parents come home, our in-laws come home, and there are so many such occasions when we cannot continue teaching children the way we do on normal days. So that time what happens? How do we engage the kids? If we don't engage them, they just do anything. They may not do anything constructive, and we see that we are not able to do anything for them. That is a very big challenge, to keep them engaged constructively at times when we are not available. Okay. Okay. So that is one thing. And also, for children who go to school, when the child goes to school, the mother is free usually, because we can do so many of our household chores at that time, and we get a lot of time to do our own things when children go to school. But for a homeschooling parent, that time doesn't exist, because 24/7 the child is with us, and we have to engage them. At the same time, we have to do all our work. We have a chanting also, and that needs to be managed. So we have to be aware of these challenges. So a mother is really loaded. A homeschooling mother has a lot to do. And obviously, we have to start saying no to many other social commitments because we don't have time to do so many other things. So that's one thing. And another important thing is when we plan to homeschool children, keep them at home, they have to see a very good example. They can't see an unstable atmosphere at home. At the home, family atmosphere needs to be very stable. There can't be obviously any fights at home. Financially, things need to be stable, and so many fronts that way. So a child has to see and experience stability in that part of life. Otherwise, parents will be busy in sorting their own things, petty issues, financial problems going on or whatever. And then the child is constantly watching us. He's like a Paramatma who is outside. No, one Paramatma is inside, but he's a very neutral observer, doesn't say anything, even if we do some nonsense that the real Paramatma never opens his mouth. But the child at home is like a Paramatma outside who's watching everything that we do. And constantly, they will bring it out at the right time. Oh, you're saying this, but that day I saw you doing something like that. So we cannot escape from that. Continuously they're observing us, and it's not the child's fault also, because there is no one else. The child will be always lingering around the mother. You give the child a task, a little assignment, and you go to the kitchen to do some little work and come back, but the child will follow you to the kitchen and he'll say, oh, I didn't understand, so when you come, I'll continue. So things like that. So the child is going to be always hanging around the mother. Sometimes it does become stressful. Children are sweet, but sometimes we feel that, God, I want to just be alone sometimes. So that's one thing that we need to really keep the child engaged on his own and activity at home for us. Another important thing that we mentioned in the slide is that children need some avenues where they can mix with other children of their age, of a bigger or smaller age, whatever, where they can play and they can speak and chat and all those things. But so if we are homeschooling our children, then we are removing them from the school, which means they are going to be at home. So we need to take care of that requirement also. We have to ensure that they get some avenues where they can mix with other children. It can be a music class or a karate class, or we have to figure out, or at least we should stay in a society where in the evening they can go down in the garden and play with other children. That is important. Also, you must have heard that children learn from parents, they learn from teachers, but there are many things that children learn from their peers also, from their classmates. So that is one thing which I always feel is a downside of this system, that peer association where they see each other. When we went to school, we would, usually children see that, oh, some other child is scoring very well. There is some kind of an not competition, but like friends discuss with each other. Exams are coming. How much have you learned? Are you fully ready? And then they discuss with each other, share their notes. Those things miss out at home. So we have to create some avenues where children can get other children to play with, or some other classes where they come together with other children, so that they also learn interpersonal skills. We don't want them to be introverts. They need to understand how to interact with other children, not only children, other elders, people of all age groups. They need to interact. So that is important, and that happens by traveling, going to places, meeting other people. Then children can also talk to other people. Such opportunities need to be created for them. And till 6th standard, 5th or 6th standard, the school load is much less. Any parent, even a simple graduate, can cope up with that. We can engage children in many things like artwork and so many other things. But from 7th standard, the education curve becomes very steep, and it's we have to take it very seriously. There cannot be any relaxation in that, because even the problem is that if we miss 2-3 days of schooling, and suppose there were guests or something like that happens, and we miss 3 days, 4 days of schooling, then from the 4th or 5th day to start the whole thing, it becomes very, very difficult and stressful for both the child and the parent. So if you ask any school teacher also, they will say that Monday morning is the worst day of the school, because Saturday, half day, Sunday is holiday, children just freak out and play. And when they come back to school on on Monday morning, it's very difficult for them to start. That starting trouble is always there. So long gaps in studying is not very recommended. And this is one challenge we could face, because at home it's only mother and father. So if anything happens, like father is sick or mother is sick, and 2-3 days, 4 days or a week goes by like that, then to bring the children back on track, back into the study mode, it is a little difficult, and we have to find out ways to work out those things. And from 7th standard, as I mentioned, the schooling has to be taken very seriously, because no matter what, in 10th standard they have to compete with school going children and the board exams, and the syllabus is really what I studied in my first year of graduation. My son has that in his 11th standard. So I feel surprised seeing that kind of syllabus in his biology in his 11th grade. Even for his 10th standard, he had the subjects in his syllabus which we had in our graduation level, like inheritance and reproduction and so many things like that. We never had all that in school, but nowadays things are, they say that children are also progressing, their genes are progressing. And that's why everything is put, even the syllabus is quite tough as they go to 8th, 9th, 10th, and we have to prepare them for that. And also, if we are planning to homeschool them at home, we have to have a goal why we are homeschooling them. If we are going to run a parallel school, there is no meaning. Then a school is better, because under one roof, they get everything over there, sports and artwork and everything they get, music, everything under one roof. But if we are going to only teach them like school, one period after other, then math, English, science, history, and do nothing else, nothing different with them, then you may wonder, why am I doing all this at home? Better to send the child to school. So we have to have a purpose so that the child learns something different, something more apart from this school, which will add to his personality. So that can be one aim. Though all these challenges are there, if we have that goal in life, that goal in mind, that I want to do this because I want my child to learn something more, something different from the normal school goers, then it will be very helpful.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So just to conclude, we'll just conclude and then open up for some questions. So we're just concluding by saying that we are living in times where, unfortunately, obtaining holistic education for our children is not always very easy for everyone. And that is the reason homeschooling, etc. And in the absence of such a holistic system, homeschooling may be one of the alternatives. If several other things fall in place. And most importantly, the child should be happy at home. So that is actually one very important criteria. I remember because our children went to school till senior KG and first standard. So from second standard, we started homeschooling them. So they had some idea of school, though it was long back. So every year we would ask them before continuing, would you like to continue the homeschooling or do you want to go back to school? Because they had an experience of going in junior KG, senior KG, first standard. And only if they would say that, yes, we want to continue, then we would. So basically the parents and children both have to be willing and they have to be enjoying the system. The last point I would mention is homeschooling for some people can be a long-term thing, like the way we did it till 10th standard, or some people may look at homeschooling as a short-term perspective. Like for example, currently due to the pandemic and lockdown, many parents had been asking me in Pune also that they are planning to homeschool their children for 1 year. So then that's a short term. It's also likely sometimes that, somebody has changed their city from one city to another, and temporarily they, because they have changed the city for 1 year, they want to homeschool their children. So this is short-term homeschooling. So short-term homeschooling is fine, but the only thing in short-term homeschooling is if you are homeschooling the children for a year or something, then we should have a contact with the school and ensure that the school will take our children back after 1 year. Yeah, because sometimes what happens is the schools refuse to do that. I know many cases where schools don't admit homeschooling children in them, in some particular year. Though government doesn't object, but schools have a problem. So especially if we are going to homeschool them for a short-term perspective, we should have a conversation with the school in advance, and so that we don't face trouble later. And if long-term is the goal, then the scenario is different. But even whether it is short-term or long-term, I would say that, the discipline aspect is very important. There should be a place to study. There should be a timetable. There should be a time when we are going to do which subject, when we are going to do spiritual activity, when there is time for extracurricular activity. Everything has to be laid out in a timetable fashion. Otherwise, children get easily distracted, and children tune into that timetable. They understand that, okay, today, Monday, 8:30, we are starting the school. So you are going to sit in this particular room, in this place, and then we will start. So like that. So these are some thoughts. I'm sure there will be several questions. So I'm just opening up for questions. 1 second. Let me see if there are some questions. And then we will take. Does homeschooling depend on the temperament of a child? Yeah, it does depend on the temperament of a child. I know some children who were not very comfortable with the homeschooling concept, where their parents started it, but they wanted a lot of friends, etc. See, because in homeschooling, one thing is that by and large, the children are going to be with the parents at home, and there will be some avenues for social interaction, right? So, but it is not going to be that there is going to be so much of social interaction like school-going children. So some children are not too comfortable with this. And I have seen some parents, saying that their child told them that, please put me back in school. And if a child says that, then I think there is no question. So as I told earlier in my talk, the child should be enjoying the homeschooling experience. Otherwise, we must put the child back in school. So that's about that point. I think there's another question, whether, 1 second, let me see. First and foremost requirement is that both parents should be devotees or non-devotees, and both should accept homeschooling as a good option. I would say more than devotee, non-devotee, both parents should be a teacher. That means both parents should have some interest in teaching, capacity to teach. That is first thing. And as a family, everybody should be united on this. Because if one of the couple, if one parent wants to homeschool and the other is not at all interested and not going to help at all. So as my wife said, mainly it becomes like in our case also, she was the one who spent maximum And I would school, I would help maybe 2 hours in the morning daily. I would be with my children, homeschooling till about 10 o'clock. 8 to 10:30, I would do some schooling with them. Later, I would go to office and she would manage the rest of the day. So, but basically, it's a partnership between the husband and wife to accomplish this. But if one parent is not into it, saying that he doesn't or she doesn't want to do the schooling, then it becomes very difficult. So I think the entire family must be together in this project. Otherwise, it is generally not going to be very easy. Right. So if there are any questions we can take, so maybe even devotees can raise their hand and ask. So I think if there is nothing on the chat box, if people can raise their hand on the, because I think Zoom has a facility, right? You can raise your hand and you can ask as well. So that is also fine. So I'm just scrolling through and see if anybody has any question.
So Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Madhu.
So meanwhile, while the hands are being raised, so I'll ask some questions from some pre-combined questions that we have. One of them is, Prabhuji, like you said that, like Mataji said that one of the challenges, like relatives visit you or your parents or in-laws, so maybe the schedule gets disturbed. So what are your views on homeschooling a child when you're staying in a joint family, maybe with grandparents or more than that, a larger family? So how can one strictly adhere to that schedule?
If the grandparents are not against homeschooling, then it should work out. And also, if the grandparents are in good health, not that the mother has, if they have any health issue and we have to take care of them and they need attention constantly, then it's going to be difficult, because how much can a mother do? So grandparents being at home is okay, and if they are good at something, like sometimes even my father-in-law, he's very good at Vedas. So whenever he would come here, we would engage him in teaching some Vedic hymns to our children. He's an artist, so he would do something like that also. And my mother-in-law also, sometimes she knows embroidery and all that, so little hankies and all, she would do those things with him. So we can engage them, unless they're very anti-homeschooling or like that. It is okay if they are around. There's no issue. Just that the mother should have time to give to the child, at least a solid 4 hours daily. So so if we can complete our daily routine work before that, and our in-laws also understand that, okay, 4 hours daughter-in-law and the grandchildren are not going to be available, then that's okay, it works out. Because whenever my in-laws came home, they knew that, okay, on weekdays they are busy schooling. So I would do all the cooking, everything. And 4 hours we would shut the door and sit inside like an office-going daughter-in-law. And then come back and evening again start the routine work. That time maybe my in-laws were visiting in-laws, but if so that time we would obviously cut down on our homeschooling hours. We would give a little, we would kind of do a bit little that day. But if in-laws are always together, then it should be easy, because if they are healthy, they can also share some workload and understand. It should be easy.
Thank you, Mataji. So there are some more questions in the chat section. So Prabhuji, you want me to read out them for you?
Yeah, I can have a look at that. 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah. So what are the solutions for these challenges, as they seem to be risky challenges and look scary to proceed, okay, while taking a risk? Okay, so I see, our goal was not to scare someone out outright, but we wanted to put a word of caution, because we have seen in our own experience, honestly, now since we have been homeschooling for 10 years, and also there were so many other families in Pune who started homeschooling, and for some of them it really became very difficult because of these challenges. So most of the challenges that we've written down is what we saw with families around us. So the point is, since it's not so, see, nothing in the world is easy. So that, let us put it outright. So I'm sure that whether we send our child to school also, then also it's not that. I'm sure all of you who are sending your children to regular schools also, it's not that you can just sit back and relax and think that, oh, the child is going to school, no, nothing to worry. It's never like that, right? So nothing in the material world is easy. Everything is a challenge. But yeah, we have to be aware of it. So why we put up the challenges is because,
so that we become prepared.
Yeah, so that we are prepared mentally. Otherwise, what will happen is, we can't play with the education of a child also. So if, for example, if you just carefully go through those challenges that I had put up there, if someone doesn't, if parent is not a teacher, if you cannot actually teach a child, or if the home situation is very, very unstable, there is too much fight or quarrel between husband and wife, or maybe with in-laws, or the home atmosphere is not very congenial, it is better that the child goes to school actually, because if he or she is at home, they will get a very negative experience. So we have to be aware of the challenges when we are keeping the child at home. So that's the reason why we put it up. So there are solutions for everything, but it just depends whether one has the mettle to face it. Okay, I'll just take a next one. Is it easy for a child to adjust at school if he has already spent so many years in another school? How to cope with studies with parents? I didn't understand. Is it easy to adjust at school if he has already spent so many years in another school? Maybe I think one of that should have been home. But our own experience was that our boys, even though they have been at home for 10 years now, we don't see any problem that they are unable to adjust with other children, or unable, or they become too introvert, or nothing like that. So we are, honestly, at the end of the day, we are quite happy with our own experience of homeschooling our children. We felt that our children, especially the elder one, he got a lot of time for his spiritual activities also, and his hobbies and everything, and we didn't feel there's a problem. Okay, where can one find books or decide what kind of curriculum to teach to kids, and what about 10th standard? Okay, good. Yeah, this is an important question. What about 10th? You want to answer that? Okay, so basically, see, there are two boards that allow homeschooling children to easily, appear for exams. One is the IGCSE board. It's a Cambridge certification. That's what our children gave. My elder son gave IGCSE in March. So the IGCSE curriculum is an excellent curriculum. It's an internationally accepted curriculum. There are many schools that offer IGCSE curriculum also. I'm sure that many of you may be aware in Delhi as well, where IGCSE curriculum is offered by schools. So that curriculum is very flexible also. It allows children to choose subjects according to interest. So nothing is compulsory in IGCSE curriculum. And the Indian government, it's an internationally accepted curriculum. So that is one option. The other option is called NIOS, National Institute of Open Schooling, which is actually very, the syllabus is very similar to CBSE. However, in India, it is kind of not too well appreciated, I would say, in social circles or in academic circles, that somebody is from NIOS, because it so happens that mostly poor children, or children from very poor families who don't have money to go to a regular school, they do this NIOS board. Because of that, the reputation of that is slightly less, but academically, let me tell you that it's a very good board. We chose IGCSE because we felt that it had more options. And more importantly, that has to be, if somebody is especially homeschooling for a long term, then from 6th standard onwards, they have to be clear about what kind of subjects he or she may take in 10th standard. Because then you'll have to cover all the prerequisites before that. Are you getting what I'm saying? I hope so. Right? Because if you're going to give for 10th standard, then from 6th, 7th, whatever is necessary to give for 10th, all that you should study earlier. So like that, we have managed to take care. But these are the only two boards in India which permit homeschoolers to participate, and it is valid and accepted. So that shouldn't be a problem. But the regular CBSE and all that doesn't allow homeschoolers. So homeschooling means either IGCSE or NIOS. Right. So let me just see if there is some other question. Okay, the school has specialized teachers for various things like sports, music, etc. How do we manage that at home? Yeah, so somehow we live in Pune, and just 2 kilometers radius around our house, we had a lot of facilities in terms of extracurricular activities, music, etc. We never found that problem. So I think it depends on where one stays and everything. And also one more thing I would like to say is that sometimes, I mean, I don't want to be critical, but sometimes in a schooling system, that music or something, it's unfortunately in India, in many places, it's more or less a formality. So there will be some teacher who will come and teach some drawing also. At least I remember the way I learned drawing in school. It was pathetic. I mean, no one really understood what is happening. You know, the teacher would come and do something, and there was 60 of us in class. Everybody was doing something with their pencil and gum and Fevicol and making a mess out of things in craft and drawing. So many times it's not even done very effectively. But however, it depends. So that's why I don't want to say that homeschooling is the only way or anything. So if somebody has found a good school where everything is available, and most importantly, character of the children will be good. I think this is one very important concern that as devotee parents, most of us would have, that our children shouldn't get spoiled, right? I mean, going to school. See, nowadays we know that unfortunately in many civil schools, especially in 8th standard, 9th standard and all, children, they tend to talk all kinds of things which are not very age appropriate. So, you know, so that bad association, so that was actually one of at least my personally major concern when we started this. So that part was there. Okay, let me just see if there's any other question. What about autism disabled child? What about autism spectrum or disabled child about homeschooling? Yeah, if there are some learning disabilities that a child has, then homeschooling actually works better for sometimes, because such a child would actually need flexibility in terms of learning. And as I mentioned to you about the IGCSE board, it gives a lot of flexibility in terms of choosing subjects, unlike Indian boards, which generally don't give so much flexibility. So especially if a child has any kind of disability, learning disability or physical disability or whatever, homeschooling is a good option, because then the child gets personal attention and can actually improve. Because such children sometimes need more personal attention than regular children.
There is an option for slow learners?
Yeah, there are options for slow learners also in these kind of boards. Would it be easier for kids to take admission later in institutes for their career? Actually, no problem. So please note that the IGCSE, NIOS are recognized boards all over the world. Even you can get entrance in IIT if you have graduated from IGCSE and NIOS. So there is no worry about the authenticity of these boards. They are as authentic as any other boards. And there are thousands of homeschooling kids in India also who have passed through all these boards and have gone into all kinds of career later in life.
You'll be surprised that there are more non-devotees, but out of people who homeschool their kids, that number is very large.
Yeah, because we were in a group of Pune homeschoolers, so we used to meet several parents, you know, who homeschool for their own reasons, you know, not even spiritual. You know, just because they wanted to give a better education to their children. If there is any other question, you could ask, even in the chat box, which I did not answer, or if anybody else wishes to raise their hand. I think there is some SV Das who has raised his hand. So I don't mind if he can ask it live, because that would also help.
Thank you, Roji. I wanted to ask few questions. May I like go one by
Yeah, sure.
one or one? So first of all, regarding homeschooling, which I feel that the child may face is like his overall, like when he's in the school, he's like interacting with lots of peers and he's having lots of friends, and then emotional connectivity, lots of things are there, as I remember in my schooling days. But if the child is alone or maybe along with his brother or sister in the school, these things are a bit difficult to come to him or difficult to learn. Socialization and all those things. One aspect is this. Another one is that living in the competitive world. I mean, in the school, it's a general environment. One face the competition at every exam or every sports, everything. They face a lot of competition, so they get adapted to it. But is it that in homeschooling scenario, after the child has graduated and one steps outside the world, is it that he faces difficulty, or then how does he overcome it?
Okay. First about socializing. So I think we had already addressed that there should be avenues for our children to meet other children, to play, especially to play with other children and to meet others. We at least never faced such a problem because we are living in a very vibrant spiritual community in Pune. We used to have at least a couple of yatras every year where so many families would go together, and our children and there were so many programs that we would attend in the weekends in the temple and everything. So our children, they had a lot of avenues to mix with devotee children in the temple, etc., in our yatras, and also in a colony, because we stay in a housing society where there are like 500 apartments. So there are always a dozen children playing in the ground. And and also we had put them in various classes around where they would meet other children, play with them, etc. So at least we didn't feel that our children had a lack of socializing. But certainly it is a point, as in if someone is living in a place, especially if it's a single child at home, and if there are not too many children in the society or wherever one stays where a child can play, etc., because they need time to play. So that's very important. Homeschooled or no, children need time to play. So if that is not there, then there is trouble. Yeah.
Like you spoke about the feeling, that competition part. I can share how we took care of that. Children here, during this Ganesh Utsav festival, there would be many sports competitions, Rangoli competitions, singing, so many things going on. Then on Republic Day, again sports competitions. So children would take part in all that. The slow cycling competition, badminton. So that need was taken care of over there. And apart from that, they would go out and learn music. They still do. So they would give music exams every year. So in that music exam would be written and also practical. So again there they would get their marks, and some kind of competition was there. And also we made them give some Sanskrit exams outside where they would see some marks coming on the mark sheet. They would sit in an exam room and write a paper. So not so much for the marks, but we wanted them to go through that experience of preparing for a viva and writing an exam. So that is also important, and through these avenues we could manage that.
Yeah, so basically our son elder one, he just gave his 10th standard in February, and did reasonably well in IGCSE. So we didn't feel that because of that lack of competition or whatever, there was an issue that not only in our case, we have seen so many other children also who were homeschooled, and even academically and everything, they did reasonably well later. I mean, quite well, as good as any other child as such. I think in one sense also, the competition can even be unhealthy sometimes. because the child needs to learn to compete with oneself, as in, you improve over where you were before. So there is really no need always that I have to compare with someone else and understand that I should go ahead. Are you getting the point? So if I can compare with myself and improve, then that's fine. So I was at this level in math. Can I improve my own level in mathematics? So that's it. If I'm improving, then that's good. So at least we never saw that problem with our own kids or with others. But in principle, I agree that there should be some socializing, some opportunity for children to mix with others. Yeah, that part is fine.
Sridhar, alter Tara.
Yeah, so I think someone has asked me this question. In present times, with no maids, parents are facing challenge of managing household work from home and teaching. How do they balance? Yeah, so I agree with this. I mean, so, in one way, sometimes we feel that by homeschooling, we made our children's life a little easier, but we made our lives quite complex. So it was quite difficult, especially for my wife. Chanting 16 rounds daily morning, doing all the cooking, household work. And of course, nowadays, since almost 4 months, there are no maids also due to this pandemic. So literally everything has to be done by oneself at home. So really, we have to be on our toes and be very efficient in terms of our work. And also, even in terms of our discipline. So for example, even though my wife was at home, we would never encourage or allow anybody to call her during office hours, as we call it. So Monday to Friday, 10 to 4, nobody could phone her, neither my parents or anybody. I mean, unless it was an emergency, which perhaps never was. So, that discipline to maintain was always a challenge. And I think that has to be there. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. So as parents, it may become quite hectic. As my wife said, so just to give you an example, so our routine was like daily we would start at 8:30. I would teach for about 2 hours, 8:30 to 10:30. That included some spiritual program in the morning, like we would start with some Mangalarati, etc., shloka recitation, and some story from Mahabharata. That is how we would start half an hour. And then 1.5 hours, I would do some academic stuff. And then I had to go to office. So from 10:30 to almost 3 o'clock, she would manage, 3:30, 4 or 5 hours. And then they would have their other hobbies and classes also. Correct. So that discipline to maintain is a challenge. And along with our professional work, devotional life, everything, that is a challenge that's why parents' lives can become a little complicated with this. Complicated as it's a lot of commitment. It is just like, you're working without getting any money. In short, it's like, right? So you adjust to that reality. So in so many houses, the husband and wife both are working, right? 10, 12 hours a day. But here, it's like, we are working, but we are not being paid because it's our own children. So nobody's going to pay you for that. Any other question or anything? You want to say something?
Praji, can you share your detailed schedule for homeschooling the children? What schedule you followed?
Yeah, so we followed. So generally it was like it was Monday to Friday till 7th standard. Then from 8th standard onwards, it became Monday to Saturday. So we would start. So actually, I mean, it would all start the night before. We would ensure that we go to bed early by 9 o'clock, so that we can be up in the morning, and so we can get up early and we can chant, etc. So generally, at least for me and my wife, we had to chant at least 10, 12 rounds before children, wake up and are ready. Otherwise, I mean, all of you who chant 16 rounds, that how if chanting is there, a lot of rounds are pending, then again, it becomes a lot of stress for us to do anything. So we had to really sleep early and get up early. So that was the first thing. I think even if we can accomplish that, a lot can be accomplished. If you go to bed early and you wake up early. So that would solve a lot of issues. As far as children are concerned, when they were very small, they would get up late only. But as they started growing up, they also started getting up quite early.
Correct. So I think our schedule also changed over the years, but generally over the last 10 years, we would start at about 8 o'clock. Sometimes I have even started at 7:30. So 7:30 I would start most of the time. And for almost 45 minutes, we would do some spiritual activity with the children. It would be Mangalarati, and I would read from Bhagavad Gita, some story from Mahabharata, things like that I would do for about 1 hour. And maybe from 8:30 we would start academics. So I would at least do 2 hours academics in the morning. I would take care of math and history and physics. So 3 subjects I would teach, and rest everything was with her. So generally by 10:30, 11 o'clock I had to leave. So I also had a job where it was quite comfortable. So 11 o'clock I would leave home. So I had a lot of time in the morning actually to teach. So then by 11, generally my wife would be free, as in her household work would be done, cooking, etc. So she would sit down and manage languages. So languages, she used a lot of spiritual literature for that, like teaching languages through spiritual books, etc. And some other subjects like biology and everything she would manage. So she would teach till maybe about 3:34, like that. So the school was generally from 8 to 4, that kind of thing. And 1 hour or 2 hours in the middle, my children would have music class or Sanskrit class. So either there was music class or Sanskrit class, but that was not taught by us. There were external teachers who would come and teach. So for music, they would go to a teacher's home, which was close by. And for Sanskrit, one teacher would come home to teach our children. So 1 or 2 hours they would teach. Other time we would manage. So generally by 4:30, everything was over. So children never had anything like homework. So whatever had to be done was done between that 8 to 4 o'clock. And after 4 o'clock, they would be free to play and, to have a good time. So, but we ensured that we are teaching most of the days a year, and there would hardly be any holiday or break. Of course, Saturday, Sunday was holiday most of the time, because we also had a lot of spiritual activity programs and satsang programs on weekend to attend. So Saturday, Sunday was generally off. But then from 8th standard onwards, there is a lot of academic load. So my children had to study on Saturdays also. So this was the general schedule. And as far as exams were concerned, we would only put exams time to time and grade them on that. Yeah. Any other question? Yeah, I think there are some questions. In what age can we include Sanskrit to children? I would say, languages as early as possible. As early as possible. In fact, a child can learn so many languages from childhood. Only thing that happens is, we are not available to teach them languages. So I would say even from the age of 2 or 3, you can actually start teaching Sanskrit. But for that, the qualification is that somebody should know Sanskrit and someone should know how to teach a 2-year-old Sanskrit. So that is the issue. My son started studying from the age of 5. And one advantage of homeschooling was, along with his 10th standard, he did a lot of studies on Panini grammar, because he went ahead a lot in Sanskrit study. And we had a private tutor, who was expert at teaching grammar, who would come home and teach. So they learned to speak in Sanskrit, write in Sanskrit, everything. So the earlier we can start languages, the better. And children can learn multiple languages in one stroke. So a child, like in our house, we are Tamil. So mother tongue was Tamil. So we taught them reading, writing, speaking Tamil. Then Marathi is the language in Maharashtra. So that also they know to at least speak and read perhaps Marathi. English, Hindi, of course, everybody has to learn, and Sanskrit. The point is, the more languages you can teach, the better. And children can take it. It is just that we are not many times available to teach multiple languages to a child. That's about Sanskrit. What should be the teaching hours for a kid at age 4 to 5? Okay, see, basically very less. What I was talking 8 hours, this was for a regular child. Actually, to tell you, our homeschooling schedule varied a lot through 10 years.
when they're very small, not more than 2 hours or 3 hours, right? So not more than 2-3 hours we would teach them, because it was very difficult. It is very difficult for a very small child to sit so much. They need to play. They actually, if you see, they have other needs. They need to, especially small children below 5, what we call as Annamaya Kosh, that is developing. They need to touch objects. They need to hear stories, and so on. So their need is completely different. So most of what we spoke was about bigger children, because that is our recent experience, because both our sons are grown up right now. But we are not talking about a 5-year-old child to have 8-hour schedule. So that doesn't work. Okay, if there are any questions we can take, or maybe we could end or whatever. So I think there are some devotees who have raised their hands. So maybe I can ask them. I just wanted to ask the organizers, Vidyavati Mataji or someone, is there any time constraint? We have to end at 5 o'clock or something? Or will we continue for some time?
Prabhuji, as it is suitable to you, maybe we can
Okay,
take
no, we are free. We are at home. It's a Saturday evening, so that's fine. So we'll take some questions. So there is one Renuka Mataji who had her hand up. She wants to ask something.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji. My question is that how to prevent child from getting influenced by bad habits or association in school?
Okay, you are talking about if a child is going to a regular school, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, she wants to say.
See, like the example of a doctor, before they meet any patients, how they take precautions. Nowadays they wear the PPE gear, or they take them some vaccinations. So like that, we should vaccinate our child at home spiritually. So at home, if we can give them very strong spiritual culture and they learn about dharma properly from the childhood through scriptures, and if they have some hearing program every day, hearing from Bhagavatam or whatever, that should help. That's one thing. You want to add something?
Yeah. So I think for children who are going, see, basically samskaras at home are very important. Let's not minimize. If the husband and wife can live peacefully at home without fighting, that itself gives such a good example to the children. If there is a peaceful, congenial home atmosphere, where, are you getting what I'm saying, right? So where children are experiencing a good samskaras at home, that itself gives a lot of strength. So so if that is there, then yeah, a lot of things are achieved. And also we need to have a lot of discussion with children as they grow up, as in, about the challenges they face, especially if they're school going. From 6th standard onwards, they would be exposed to so many things in school, because the other friends will bring in so many stuff, right? And also one very important thing is using screen as an entertainment should be as minimum as possible. That means watching movies and things like that as less as possible. I mean, unfortunately, I cannot say zero because in today's world, everything is on the screen. But as less as possible, it would help. And some kind of spiritual activity, some kind of higher taste. See, basically, every child also needs to grow up with some kind of hobbies. It may be reading, music, something. Every child should grow up with some hobby, so that in times of boredom, frustration, they have something to fall back on rather than some bad habits. So I think all this will help. Is there any other question?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, there is one more question in the chat section.
Yeah, please.
What is the advantage of teaching child multiple languages? Is it for ability to converse or some brain-related development? Also, there is a second part to it, that should a student get some school experience and then start homeschooling, else they might not know what alternative is there if they do not like homeschooling.
Okay. As far as multiple languages are concerned, one is that it helps people see, because language is closely connected to culture. If you see carefully, language is closely connected to culture. Learning multiple languages means, getting various cultures. So for example, if somebody, we are in Maharashtra. If somebody studies Marathi, if you really want to learn about Shivaji Maharaj or, many good kings in Maharashtra, some of the best literature happens to be in Marathi, right? It's not so much in English, especially because, if you see, okay, so the one pointed answer is we learn various languages, especially the Indian languages, so that we can connect to the literature. Correct? Because if you don't know the language, you cannot connect to the literature. And if you know only English, see, English is a functional language that everybody has to learn anyway. But as far as the other regional languages in India are concerned, they also help you connect to people. If you see even successful preachers in our ISKCON movement, they are those who can actually connect to people with local language, not so much the English preachers, if you carefully observe. So we feel that learning multiple languages have several uses, connecting to the culture, your mother tongue also, especially if it's not Hindi or something, and connecting to your own culture, connecting to different cultures, reading literature, connecting to people later in life. And as far as Sanskrit is concerned, certainly yes. Learning Sanskrit nicely also helps in logical brain development or whatever. So that has that advantage also. What was the other question that you asked, Mataji? I just forgot.
Should a student experience get some school experience also before deciding what his liking is?
In our case, our children had, because they went till first standard to school and then we stopped. But honestly, I don't think that later they remember that also so well. In fact, in smaller classes, most of the time going to school is more for so that the mother gets some free time. I remember when our because our sons were just 2 years apart. So when we started homeschooling the elder one, he was 6-year-old. So the younger one was 4-year-old. So we thought that we will send the younger one to school so that she will get some time with the elder one, because if the younger one 4-year-old is running around at home, it's very difficult to teach a 6-year-old. So younger classes, especially most of the time, mother sends the child to school so that she gets some free time for herself, and that's the reality. As far as the child is concerned, yeah, that experience. See, I think the main thing is the child has to be happy in what is happening. I know some children who never went also to school, who have been homeschooled throughout. But if they are happy and they are doing well, then that's fine. If they are not, then one has to see that one would have to change. Yeah. Any other question?
Yes, Prabhuji, I've just now received 2 more questions on my personal chat. One of them is that how do you manage to teach 2 kids of different age group together? Because like you said, you can give 1.5 hours to them academically and all that. So how do you manage that between 2 children of different age groups?
Okay, I will tell for my subject and she will speak about languages. So for math, what I would do is, math, if you see, most of the time it's about solving problems. So what I would do is I would teach one child one concept and make him solve problems. And when he's solving problems, I would teach the concept to the next one, and then, yeah, so shuttle back between them. So this is what I would do. It was a little difficult, especially when they were in younger classes, because they needed more personal attention. But they also understood that, they have some time to do things when I would go to the other student and so on. Because math, it was almost impossible to teach them together. But for languages, she would do something different.
Yeah, kind of same thing. We would teach one child and give assignment and then go to the next one. And also we would discuss Bhagavatam and Ramayana. So that I would do with both of them together. And when my younger one was very small, his pace was a little slow, but the elder one would feel that it's going too slow, read fast. So what I did is that I would engage him in doing some kind of artwork. So while we were doing this, so his hands were engaged, then he didn't feel that the pace was slow. Eventually both of them could cope up with that, and I mean, in some time, they both came to the same speed of learning.
Yes. And the last thing is that what are the qualifications that parents should have if they plan to homeschool the kids efficiently? Also, a related question I received, that how can we introduce homeschooling in rural areas, or maybe when the parents are not well read? So you can answer all these questions.
Yeah. So see, as far as academic qualifications are concerned, see, it depends. See, homeschooling, I know also some parents who homeschooled by employing tutors. Then in that case, they offloaded the whole job to somebody else. So that's also perhaps one technique. But then you have to ensure that the goals are accomplished. What you want is accomplished. You know, that the tutors are doing a good job, which is also fine. Because I know many people who did that. In our case, we ourselves taught them. So somehow for us, it was maybe a little easier because I'm a prof in a college, so kind of used to academic, setting question papers and all that was my routine job. So that was easy. So it's as simple as that. Whoever teaches whichever subject must have knowledge of that subject. So this is the first thing. So if somebody is going to be a math teacher, they should know math very nicely. Otherwise, they cannot teach math. If somebody is going to teach languages, you're going to teach English, Hindi, Marathi, whatever language, you should have command on that language. If someone doesn't have command on the language, then you will actually spoil the child by not teaching the language properly. Makes sense, right? So whichever subject we are teaching, the teacher should have command on that subject. Teacher should be interested in teaching. Teacher should be able to relate to the child while teaching. So these are three important things. If parents have that, then they can be teachers. But if parents do not have that and somebody else has that, like for example, Sanskrit. So neither me or my wife knew Sanskrit. So we employed teachers for that because we didn't know. And neither me nor my wife, we were good at music. So we had somebody else teaching them that. In fact, we didn't even know how to read and write Tamil. Though Tamil is our mother tongue, we were brought up in convent school. So we had never learned to read and write Tamil. So we had a Tamil devotee teach the children Tamil, but we didn't teach because we didn't know that. So if you don't know a particular subject, then you need to employ or request someone else to do that for you. Then that is fine. So basically that's how it works. Is that okay? Yeah, as far as rural areas or whatever, see again it depends. So in a rural area, it depends on what the goal is. So somebody is a farmer and so then in that case homeschooling would also mean that the child would learn maybe the farming and so on, right? So that also becomes a very important part of homeschooling. Somebody is a farmer and that's what his son is going to be tomorrow, then what are the use of teaching so many technical stuff if that's not what the child is going to do later in life? So I think homeschooling has this important component also, learning skills. Those skills may be whatever, it may be farming, gardening or whatever the family has.
See, even one thing I would like to add is, even if we are not farmers, we tried that our children get some life skills. Not that staying at home, homeschool means they were always sitting in the classroom reading or writing. We involved them in every aspect of the home. Like they would help with the household chores. We taught them cooking. So once a while, if there is some emergency, I remember I was once very, very sick. And both my sons, they were very small that time, but they both managed entire cooking and everything that I do, because my husband doesn't know any cooking, but both my sons managed, though they were very small, for 3-4 days. And they know the entire laundry they can do in case we have to go somewhere. They can do all kinds of housework. So we taught them that. And simple basic cooking like making chapati, rice, dal, sabji, and making dosas. My younger son over here, he ran away. He is very good with baking. He bakes cakes. He can make ice creams. So they enjoyed these things a lot. So whenever festivals come, we have a very grand festival at home with the family, children involved in all the preparations and everything. So they enjoyed a lot, that practical part of at home. We involved them in everything like that. We never said that, hey, you go and study, don't do all this. I never did that. So right from making atta to rolling chapati, putting it, making fulkas, everything they could manage. Also simple things like ironing their clothes, drying or folding clothes and keeping them in the right fold. All these things. DT worship, they can worship. So these are some practical aspects that we consciously involved them from the beginning, and they enjoyed it.
Yes, Mataji, I remember 5 years back when we came to your place with we were around 20 devotees and we came to your place, and your kids, they made the meal for us, and we were completely surprised how could somebody at such a young age could make it, and they offered it to us so lovingly that we actually loved it. I remember it clearly.
My children still remember the nice pastry that you had given, a big cake.
Wow.
Okay.
So, Prabhuji and Mataji, before we end, I would like to request you to give your last final piece of advice for the parents and teachers who are in this pandemic. They are maybe forced to homeschool their kids right now. So maybe some few pieces of advice, just last pointers.
Okay, so especially for those who are, homeschooling in the short term due to the pandemic or due to any other reason, I would like to say that the discipline is kind of important at home. Otherwise, the children, discipline as in, some timetable, a time and place to do things, especially as the children are growing. Not when they are too small. When they are too small, they need more love and, fun. But as they are growing, they would need little more discipline and, a timetable and structured way of doing things. And also they need a lot of break between subjects. So that means at home also when we are teaching, it's not that, one period after the other it's going on. So generally between every 2 periods, we would give a gap of 15-20 minutes. They could just do something of their choice. So yeah, so that biological and even that mental break was very important. And most importantly, the child should enjoy whatever he's doing. I think this is very important aspect of schooling. That means the subjects we learn also, there should be something that we're really learning in it. So what we would do is before every academic year, we would gather various books on whatever subjects were available. And my wife would do various courses also on, Waldorf kind of teaching courses. She did some teaching courses so that she can teach better. And we would try to teach whatever subjects we did also in the most practical way possible. So for physics and other subjects, we made them, especially my younger one, learn by a lot of making toys. So I don't know whether you've heard about this one, the famous person called Arvind Gupta. He talks about making toys from trash, so making a lot of toys at home, doing things, kind of handwork, so my younger one was very good with crochet, making sweaters, etc. So things like that. So basically I would like to say that some handwork is very important where child learns to do something with the hand. And I don't know. Okay, so yeah, so that's it from our side. I think my wife had to go somewhere now. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji. We are so grateful to both of you. Thank you so much for your valuable association and the way you have thrown light on this topic, relevant topic for today. So we are really looking forward to hear from you more. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much,
Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you to all the parents and all the teachers for having being patient in the session. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.